Lord Ayyappa is known as celibate deity. Is that about faith or does it reflect gender biasness?
Shabarimala's name comes from a woman called Shabari. Shabari, the tribal, who was a devotee of Lord Rama. The entire name of Shabarimala comes from Shabari. There is a female consecration called Maligapuratamma there in Shabarimala.
So, do you think the younger generation views such traditions differently now?
We have a lack of spiritual education. Our Christian brothers, our Muslim brothers have a Sunday school, have a Friday gathering namaz. Hindu community doesn't have such kind of a spiritual education platform.
Why are so many people easily trapped by fake astrologers and godmen today?
There are Babas and there are black sheeps. Let us be honest about it. I am a believer of all good Babas. I go to all spiritual gurus. At the same point of time, being a person who is living amidst this for the past 20 to 25 years in a an active adult life, I know that many people are horribly fraudulent.
What kind of frauds are actually happening in famous temples like Trimbakeshwar and if you go to Kashi? And why are people afraid to speak about them?
When you meet these people who are exploiters, who are like people who grab money, they are more dignified pickpocketers in some other name. See, you cannot do dhanda in temple.
Hello and a very warm welcome. And we have a very special guest with us, Rahul Easwar, who is an activist. So, first of all, warm welcome on the show.
Thank you. It's a privilege, ma'am.
So, you spoke so much about Sabrimala. I want to ask that what did you feel? Was that a faith or fight for rights?
I would say we can balance both. One of the best words that we need to memorize in any modern democracy is balance. You can call it synergy, you can call it synthesis, you can call it blending. We have Article 14, right to equality, but also we have Article 25, which is also a fundamental right called right to faith. So we need to balance, blend, synergize, syncretism. These are the great values that we should definitely have. A person's right, a female's right is absolutely important, but a believer's right is also important. So we have to find a consensus and a balance. And I believe that balance is what makes India great, beautiful. Buddha used to call it middle path. Mahatma Gandhi used to call it the path of moderation, middle path. We can call it in so many names, consensus building, whatever name calls. The essence is there may be contradictions in the society, but we have to reconcile them. We have to synergize them. So I totally, agree with all the constitutional rights, including Article 14, but we also need to be mindful of Article 25 too.
Okay, and I want to know how do you see Sabrimala as a matter of religion or as a symbol of women's equality?
See, two humble submissions. Shabarimala's one of the great uniquenesses. Many will be, especially up north, will be surprised to know there is a mini mosque inside Shabarimala. Ayyappa's best friend was a Muslim called Vavar, and there is a mini shrine for Vavar inside Shabarimala. And en route to Shabarimala, we ritualistically, not out of formality, we religiously and ritualistically pay our respect in Vavar Mosque and Velitha's church, because Velitha and Vavar were very close to Ayyappa. So Ayyappa is a god of pluralism, what we call secularism, middle path, Gandhian path, whatever name you want to call it. Along with that, Shabarimala has some peculiarities. Lakhs of women visit Shabarimala, but only young women have a age regulation. Some may agree with it, some may disagree with it. But Shabarimala is a space where that faith can be practiced because the deity is a Naishtika brahmachari. And and especially our Hindu community to understand, strictly speaking, there is no god in temple. What is inside a temple is called devata, or in English language, we call it deity. The concept of God and concept of devata is slightly different. For example, devata in every temple will be different. In Vaishnavi Devi will be different. In Shabarimala will be different. In Attikal will be different. This deity has different forms, bhavas, mula mantras. It's a very deep topic. So, unlike the God spelling which the Westerners have, we believe in devatas, deities. So, Ayyappa is a devata who is a Naishtika brahmachari. That's the reason why our females have a age regulation. And you will be surprised to know there is a ladies Shabarimala in Kerala where women offer Pongala. There is another ladies Shabarimala where only Nari Puja is allowed. That means only females are allowed to be worshipped there. Even if I go there, I cannot get worshipped because that's Nari Puja Sampradaya. So it's a very deep cultural framework. Unfortunately, many of the people of the modern age look our own culture with a Western prism. I am a Western educated person. I respect Western science, modernity. At the same point of time, when you look at a complex, nuanced, layered nation like India, you have to be a bit more broad minded, kind hearted to understand the nuances and the divergence.
And Lord Ayyappa is known as celibate deity. Is that about fate or does it reflect gender biasness?
No, that basically only means Ayyappa is a celibate or a Naishtika Brahmachari. Basically means those people who are coming to Shabarimala should take something called a Naishtika Brahmacharya Vrata. That means there is a 41 days Vrata or a penance where the males, we don't cut, no, don't shave, don't cut the hair, do all kind of spiritual practices. So it's a Vrata period. This is the essence of Shabarimala practice. And this is happening from November 16th to almost January 20th. This is called a Mandala Magaravillaka season. So this is the major season and the pilgrimage point of Shabarimala. So such nuances, such in-depth aspects are there. Unfortunately, some of our people, didn't look at the details. We always say in media and in law terms that divine or the devil lie in the details. It's all about details. The mere larger platitudes, unfortunately, don't reflect the reality. And interestingly, Shabarimala's name comes from a woman called Shabari. Shabari, the tribal, who was a devotee of Lord Rama. The entire name of Shabarimala comes from Shabari. There is a female consecration called Maligapuratama there in Shabarimala. So it's a very nuanced, a different universe altogether. Unfortunately, people didn't understand the depth, but thankfully, out of the magnanimity of Supreme Court kindly consented to take back the verdict, review the entire verdict. So it has in effect become a protection for the entire religions, not only Hinduism. Our Christian, Muslim brothers, Parsi brothers, all the communities will have Shabarimala as a protective kavacha for Article 25, which is also a fundamental right.
Now let's talk about that Supreme Court's verdict. So do you feel that the Supreme Court's verdict truly changed people's mindset or is everything still same?
Supreme Court, Supreme Court is the final court in India. We respect Supreme Court totally, but we requested Supreme Court, we requested the Honorable Prime Minister, we requested the opposition leader, we requested different political parties, and out of their magnanimity, Supreme Court understood the ground sentiments. Because it was months and months of protest altogether. And it was interesting to see lakhs of women coming out and supporting Shabarimala. Lakhs of women came to the street, supported Shabarimala. It happened in 2018. Perhaps in the history of India after independence, this is the first time a 4-1 Supreme Court verdict has been overturned by people's protest, and that too absolutely in Gandhian methods. There was hardly any violence. There were any untoward incident. So it's a very sensitive issue. At last, Supreme Court kindly consented to take it back, have a deeper review. Honorable PM Modi ji directly intervened and Modi ji supported. An interesting thing for all the students of law, the only female judge in the Supreme Court supported Shabarimala. The 4 male judges perhaps had a different view. But the only female judge, Indu Malhotra ji, understood the depth of it. So it was a female-led protest in that sense. It was a female-led resistance.
Now, since you're talking about the female side, the female energy, why people worship when there's a point on worshipping female energy or female part? Do you think that it comes from the out of fear or out of devotion?
See, I'm a person. I'm a Hindu right-wing activist. I'm deeply spiritual, and I totally respect our Arsha Bharata Sanskriti or the Indian culture. But let me be very honest with this. Even though we had great ideas and ideals about womanhood, in our history, we have made mistakes many times regarding our female folks. We had discrimination, we had bad practices. Let us not shy away from it. Let us be honest, intellectually honest, and accept that we had some mistakes. At the same point of time, our culture always respected women. Yes, it has not translated into practice at many points of time. It's an unfortunate history. We need to be honest. Only when we are honest about our faults, we are able to overcome it. That's the reason why we always say, let us take positive examples from past, whether it is Jhansi Rani, whether it is Rasia Sultana, whether it is great Vedic rishis in which females were also there. Take the positive aspects. There are some aspects. See, even though I'm a Hindu right-wing activist, I always say, let us be honest about the fact that there are strands of male chauvinism in our society. And that is not acceptable. Yes, female chauvinism is not the answer to male chauvinism. At the same point of time, some kind of balance, harmony, equality, equal respect should be there. So we should respect the feminine out of love, care, and compassion. Just look at all the rivers in India, they are named after females. Just look at Bharat Mata itself, we have named after the female. Vande Mataram is female. Except the Germans, all the people, I mean, majority of the nations, German calls their land fatherland. We all call it motherland. So there's a deep reverence. But at the same point of time, we should be honest about the mistakes we had. Usually in our society, there is an issue of extremes. One extreme saying that Indian culture is perfect and nothing needs to be done. The other goes on demonizing, saying that everything is bad and it has to be changed. Both are not true. One, yes, we had many positives, but we had horrible practices like sati. Let us not close our eyes towards it. No, it was absolutely horrible and tragic. And there were some negatives in our past, which our own reformers changed. We had casteism, we had sati, which believers, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Swami Vivekananda, Mahatma Gandhi, Baba Saheb Ambedkar, all our great reformers, they were never non-believers. They were never atheists. They were never, people who deny faith. They were very faithful people who reformed us. So there is a sensitive balance. Preserve what is best of the past, preserve it for present, and build it for the future should be the right attitude.
Let me come on to this point. Should change in religious spaces come from within society or through the law?
Absolutely. What you said is the heart of the matter. See, even as a believer, I always use the word evolution. Change is an absolutely right word. We call it evolution because every culture, every faith is subjected to syncretic evolution. That evolution really happens. That evolution means something, some eternal Sanatana value is definitely there, but it has to be changed. It has to be practiced in a new way. It has to be understood in a new way. That's how all our reformers came. They preserve the core, or what in Ranganathananda Swami's correct terminology calls eternal values for a changing society. Eternal values are there. Eternal Sanatana Dharma is there. At the same point of time, things are evolving. We need to adapt. And that's the reason why, in spite of many wrong aspects of India, if you check our history, not in 5,000 years of our history, we had never thrown a stone at a scientist. Unlike the West, where scientists were persecuted for scientific advancement, India never had any animosity with science. This is one positive point we have. We had issues like casteism, but regarding science and technology, we were always positively progressive, accepting, welcoming. So we never believed science and spirituality is different. So if one practice is getting wrong, or one achara, one tradition is getting outdated, we need to update. Maybe, I know, as a journalist, you might have seen laws getting updated, 100-year-old law getting replaced. Some practices can be replaced in a positive way, in a very sensitive manner, in a very respectful manner. That respectful manner, for example, last century, we had a lot of animal sacrifices. So all our spiritual leaders, people like Sri Narayana Guru down south, people up north, they decided this animal kind of sacrifice is bad. That is wrong. We need not cut animals in our temples and offer some kind of a blood. It is wrong. So we evolved. We changed into something else. So the evolution is there. The devotion is the core. The way in which the devotion is expressed can have their own changes. Right now, many temples and all, you may have seen, they are having QR codes for accepting Dakshina.
So I'll be coming on to this point. First, I just want to take this question at last on Sabrimala. So do you think the younger generation views such traditions differently now?
See, we need to sensitize our younger generation to a positive thing. For example, Hindu community especially, I know I'm coming from it, we have a lack of spiritual education. Our Christian brothers or Muslim brothers have a Sunday school, have a Friday gathering, namaz. Hindu community doesn't have such kind of a spiritual education platform. By the age of 18, our Christian brother's son or Muslim brother's son or daughter gets around 1,000 hours of spiritual education. But Hindu community people like us, we don't get that spiritual education. That's the reason why we have put forward a proposal across temples, not only in India, across the world, that just like our Christian brothers have a Sunday, our Muslim brothers have a Friday, Hindu community should have a Saturday satsang, where we can understand Vedas, we can understand Tantra, we can understand our philosophy, we can understand Swami Vivekananda, we can understand Mahatma Gandhi, we can understand Sri Ramakrishna, so many people. So this kind of a spiritual education, and let me point out, this is very much in line with the Harvard researchers that has consistently pointed out that a week satsang or a gathering, socio-spiritual gathering, can increase the longevity and happiness of human beings. Harvard University's research, which was published in JAMA Psychiatry, after 14 years of research, they have pointed out that once a week a spiritual gathering will help us reduce stress, will help us connect to society better, will help us live longer. This means we are just getting connected to people in the name of God, in the name of spirituality, culture. So the satsang, in our language, we call it satsang. In the Western language, they call it social spiritual gathering, whatever name you have to call it. See, unfortunately, many times we fight on names. Let us leave apart names. The essence is that kind of a community gathering is very important. And our Hindu kids, especially majority of Hindu and Indian kids, needs to be culturally sensitized in a positive way.
Yeah. And this conversation that you started actually led to a different, I think, topic for me now. I want to ask because as you were mentioning that spiritual satsang should be arranged, right, on Saturdays for Hindu people. Now, I want to ask that since we don't know much, or many people, the laymen don't know much, this is the only reason that these gurus and these people who are called as spiritual gurus, they can fool us easily. Or
Absolutely.
let me
Absolutely.
just frame it
Thank you so
very properly. Why are so many people easily trapped by fake astrologers and godmen today?
See, let me be very honest with this. What you have raised is a very important question. We should raise it ourselves. See, the point is there are Babas and there are black sheeps. Let us be honest about it. I am a believer of all good Babas. I go to all spiritual gurus at the same point of time. Being a person who is living amidst this for the past 20 to 25 years in a an active adult life, I know that many people are horribly fraudulent. Horribly fraudulent to the extent that even the con man will shy at these people. There are Babas, there are good Babas, good spiritual leaders. Even our freedom struggle was led by such a Sant from Sabarmati, Mahatma Gandhi, or the modern notions of Hinduism whereby a Swami Vivekananda. But there are people like, if I can name some people who are right now in jail for fraudulent activities. So many people even cheating and going to the extent of saying, if I can be open about one name, for example, Nityananda, who is right now a fugitive outside India, he went to the extent of saying that sun is coming late today. That means Surya Bhagavan is coming late today because Nityananda woke up late. And there are such
He
people
himself
who,
called him. He himself called him an avatar of Shiva.
see that I mean, may Shiva forgive him, but see, there are some people who are using religion. We as we Indians and especially we Hindus should be very honest about it. We had some absolutely great saints, but at the same point of time, there are many people who uses religion, spirituality, astrology, and so many things as a mask and cheat people in the name of faith, and that should definitely be stopped. How do we stop it? Two or three structural stuffs. I am not an atheist. I am a believer. We have an instant reverence towards all our spiritual gurus. But please remember, even Sita Mata was kidnapped by Ravana in the form of a saint. Ravana disguised himself as a saint. Ravana disguised himself as a kind of a godman, and even Sita was kidnapped, by such a fake image. So this happens. So we have to be very careful. Please remember, I'm a hardcore believer. But my request to my fellow believers, especially Gen Zs, is please question everything. Swami Vivekananda had the audacity to question. That's the reason why he got the spiritual revelation as he had it. So when he met Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, 99% of the people simply revere saints without questioning them. The first arrogant question, if I can use that word, Narendra asked Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, "Have you seen God?" So it is as if he was asking proof. I need validation. I need proof. See, please ask for verification, validation, proof. There are some outrageous and outlandish claims that our so-called babas, so-called sons make. So these people are so-called sons. They hardly wear that particular spiritual dress and fool people, and we all know that such people are there. For example, I'm from the land of Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya is basically from Kerala, who recodified Hinduism in a big way. Shankaracharya established 4 mathas, very important 4 spaces for reclaiming Sanatana Dharma or Hinduism. With due respect, if you travel up north, we can at least meet 100 to 150 kinds of Shankaracharyas. Original Shankaracharya never meant it. He had 4 great mathas and established all over India. So there are many people who are fake coins in every religion, not only in Hinduism, in every religion. So let us be very careful. Please study. And as you rightly mentioned earlier, Hindu community lacks this spiritual education. That's the reason why if somebody says something, they will easily fall for it. So please don't go for conmen. Please don't go for godmen. Go for good sadhus, sons, babas, spiritual leaders. There are a lot of such good people who are doing very good work, but there are other people who are doing some issues. That's the reason why we were vouching for something called an anti-superstition law, where we requested we need to have a right to information applied to every temple, church, mosque, and ashram in India. Because when I devote some money to temple, church, mosque, gurudwara, vihara, ashram, or anything, I have the right to know where the money goes. And painfully, let me say, a good percentage of the money of the modern babas go to self-branding. There is no issue in putting up some boards, but they cannot have a digital blitzkrieg like a Bollywood stars. See, we are giving it because we believe it will be used for charity. See, some kind of charity, other purposes. So devotees are going it. For example, right now, my grandfather was the supreme priest of Shabarimala for the lengthiest time. Right now, Shabarimala is facing a huge crisis where kilograms of gold were snatched by the very Devasam board who was supposed to protect it. And the gold, which is right in the front of the Srikovil or the Sanctum Sanctorum, were looted. So such structural issues are there. It was upon my complaint nearly 12 years ago. Shabarimala had a right to information. So Hindu faith, Hindu religion, Hindu dharma, Hindu samaj, whatever we want to call it, is not a codified religion. We are not codified like our Christian brothers or Muslim brothers or Parsi brothers or Jew brothers. We are a very diverse, very disunited, disorganized kind of a community. But at the same point of time, we shouldn't allow exploiters, cheaters, conmen, fake people to make use of that space and snatch away the livelihood of people, exploit people. And let us be honest about it. Sexploitation is happening. Financial exploitation is happening. And empty number of cases. I don't want to take the name, but up north in Delhi, hardly 3-4 weeks.
The list is very long. I totally understand that. But don't you think that the main cause or the root cause of all these fraudulence are, somewhere behind the line under the blind faith that has become a business in the name of, if we talk about astrology or these rituals?
We should never encourage blind faith. We should always encourage positive faith, questioning faith. I know Albert Einstein briefed it brilliantly when he wrote an article where he said science and religion, or science and spirituality, we can take in a modern terminology. Science and spirituality should go hand in hand. Spirituality without science is blind, and science without spirituality is lame. So we need to be open-minded. We need to be reasonable. We need to be guided by common sense. There are even some kind of so-called esoteric practices, so-called abhijara practices. Even in Kerala, it has happened. It's a very progressive, literate state where people were falling for witchcraft. People were killing their own children. And you might have heard the story of the Andhra couple who were, horrible. They were ready to kill their own daughters because somebody else said so. What kind of fanaticism is this? What kind of foolishness is this? Please remember, foolishness and fanaticism is not faith. Faith needs to be purified, guided by common sense. Every practice cannot be tested in a scientific laboratory. I agree. But at the same point of time, some kind of common sense should be there. Some kind of sensibility should be there. We should be intelligent believers, rational believers, sensible believers, and we shouldn't allow ourselves to be cheated. And please remember, the golden rule is don't allow financial exploitation, don't allow sexual exploitation in the name of faith.
Now, if we talk about financial exploitation, either it's happening at the broader level or on the smaller level. So, what kind of frauds are actually happening in famous temples like Trambakeshwar? And if you go to Kashi, and why are people afraid to speak about them? Because when you go to these temples, they ask to do puja. They tell you that they make a sheet of your chart, of your kundli chart, and then they tell you that you have this dosh, and then you have to do followed up with different pujas, and then they ask you to get money. So, what are these frauds happening in these big temples? If you talk Trambakeshwar, no, it's happening everywhere.
It's very true. It's see, as a devotee, I'm pained. Personally, I have complained. I will not take names, but two or three major temples across India, I have complained because see, we go to temple genuinely believing that there is a positive energy, there is deity there. So when you meet this conman there, when you meet these people who are exploiters, who are like people who grab money, they are more dignified pickpocketers in some other name. See, you cannot do dhanda in temple. Yes, there are some kind of commercial activities. Nobody is denying it. You have to buy something. But there, it is not an absolutely business exploitation space. So you need to have a sense of rationality, sense of, I would say, cultural appropriateness. For example, in many spaces, they cheat in the name of all these stuff. And many things are done in a very wrong way. So the temple authorities should make sure that such things are not happening. I concede when a festival is happening, so many cultural people are coming. They would like to sell something. There are rudraksh you can buy. There are insignia you can buy. But
And
let
even
us
for
not.
the darshan also, and even for the darshan also, there is a different line. I mean, people are asking money for the darshan.
Yeah, see, this is and they are exploiting.
So
you
how
cannot you
justify
cannot
it? Huh.
you cannot have VVIPs in the front of God, right? See, we understand. Yeah, we understand if a president or a prime minister goes, there needs to be security. If a Supreme Court goes, there needs to be a security. We all respect that because they are people. This space can be used by someone else to attack them, demean them, or create an issue. So, with those rare exceptions, there should not be VIP queues at all. There should not be VVIP queues at all. And there should not be this money taken stuff. 500 rupees you go to one queue, 1000 rupees you go to another queue, 10,000 rupees you go to another queue. This is not the way we should conduct faith, or we should do the affairs of a temple.
But don't you think, Rahul, that people are actually losing trust on this? I mean, if you go to a big temple, आप इतनी बड़ी लाइन में खड़े होते हैं, and then उसके बाद आपसे पैसे मांगे जाते हैं सिर्फ दर्शन करने के लिए, प्रसाद के लिए भी sometimes it happens that if you don't give money to them, then they don't even give you the prasad, in fact. Or
We have specific amounts.
this is a very serious issue I think we should talk about.
And they get angry too. So that's the reason I think it is in the Holy Bible that there is a beautiful passage where Jesus Christ says, these people have made God's space as a marketplace. See, it is not a marketplace. We understand. I know I come from a Pujari family. I come from a family of people who do pujas, pandays, as you call in North, or priests. We respect. Everyone has their own space. They need to be dakshina. But it cannot be something like an exploitative relation. Those people, I have seen many great priests, who don't even take dakshinas, who will keep it up for temple's upkeep. But there are some spaces. See, this is why temple board should intervene. This is where courts should actively intervene. This is where court or the other spaces should come in and say that this over commercialization, this over exploitation needs to be stopped. I'm saying this in a very careful way because some kind of money dakshina will always be happening. But if one person is giving 500 rupees and the other person is giving 50 rupees, the person with 50 rupees should not be disrespected. The person who has lesser amount of money should not have a second class citizen kind of attitude in front of God. See, that's not why we go there. And especially many people snatching money from us in the name of faith is not good. Ultimately, this will lead to degradation of Hindu community and Hindu culture. There should be a more disciplined affair. And there are many great temples like that. Let us be honest about it. There are many great temples who conduct in a very good way. In some of the BAPS temples that I have, when Swaminarayan temples, they all do it in a much more better way. I have been to many temples in USA where some of Hindu community, beautiful temples are there. They conduct in a much more decent way. And let us be honest with it, there are many temples who are not hygienic, who don't clean their premises regularly. This money should be used for cleaning those spaces. And when Mahatma Gandhi nearly 100 years back came to Kashi, Yogi Adityanath ji also quoted this once. Gandhiji was so pained to see Kashi being so unhygienic. Gandhiji said, it pains me to the core that Kashi is the holiest of our place. It's not at all hygienic. So we need to keep it hygienic. We need to keep it very pristine, pure. We need to have some kind of order and discipline in these. Then only our temples will flourish.
Yeah, but Rahul, who needs to be blamed? Is that the authority people or the people who actually give dakshinas? I mean, the VIP line darshan, or the pandits who are actually asking for these, to distinguish dakshinas?
It's a combination. First, we have to take responsibility by ourselves as devotees. We have to blame ourselves, take the responsibility. Second, yes, we are doing such kind of priest training programs here where we tell priests, see, you are the faces, you are the guardians of the faith. So if your contact is bad, people will see the entire faith as bad. When a person like you is misbehaving, or person is asking for more, a person is exploiting, लोगों का भरोसा उठ जाता है. They will lose that particular faith. See, they know that we will lose trust in faith.
You know what? I'll tell you. I'll tell you one incident that happened with me. I went to a very big famous temple, and then I offered a dakshina, 500 rupees. And then when I was coming out, the same pandit was asking me more dakshina, and then he wasn't allowing me to come out of it, and he was asking more money from me. So that this is the whole scenario that is happening in each and every.
All your viewers who are seeing this right now would have at least had one bad experience like this. See, that's where pundits, priests should realize, when you do such a harkat, when you do such a bad thing, normal people will lose trust in the entire institution. They will lose trust in God, will lose trust in this entire faith. See, and one more thing, due respect, the Hindu priests are not trained per se in that manner. See, our Christian community brothers, Muslim community brothers, they have years and years of training to become priest, or their own church, mosque, or other things. The Hindu priests don't have such kind of a training. See, these are the institutional things that the government boards or devasam boards or temple boards will have to take care. And Hindu temples have a lot of, and better crowd control, welcoming guests. See, these are basics. And unfortunately, we are not strong with basics. See, the interesting thing is, a good percentage of temples outside India does it. See, inside India is the problem. If you go to temples in US, if you go to temples in Malaysia, I've been to these places. They are doing it in a much more, if I can use that, professional way. That's a word to use. But our temples are yet to be that professional in one sense. So, and we need to do that. We have a great legacy of temples. But let us remember, if we are exploiting, misusing, and abusing it, the coming generations may pretend to be faithful, but deep inside, they won't have a conviction of faith.
Yeah, definitely. And Rahul, just because we are speaking too much about spirituality and all, so I don't want to miss this topic also, because these days people are doing so much of predictions and astrological predictions I'm talking about. I just want to ask that why do people trust predictions and pujas that promise like instant success or solutions to every problem, like each and every problem?
See, let me be very honest with this. I believe in all this. At the same point of time, somewhere in my mind, I know that it shouldn't be used as a mechanism to exploit me. See, I'll tell you a very simple example between how to differentiate between belief and superstition. If you are going to a temple, taking a pen, praying it to the god, and giving a 5 rupee or 10 rupee to pujari as dakshina, that is belief. But if you are going to a temple or a tantric or a pujari, doing puja with one egg and putting it in your friend's bag so that he fails in the exam, that is superstition. And that is foolishness and superstition. See, the point is, if somebody is telling you, if you give me 1 lakh rupees, you will pass an exam, please don't go to that person. He is a fraud. He is a person who peddles on superstition. There is no magic wand for us to win an exam. Why a different person? If you go to God, if you pray, you will get confidence. You may perform well in the exam. See, if you pray really well, but please remember, you have always heard, we are one half and God is the other half. Unless we do our half, God is never going to do his half. So there are some people who create magical solution, and all the anti-superstition laws in India uses this particular word called magical solution. There are no magical solutions. If we do our work well, karma, if we do our karma really well, then pray. It's a combination. That prayer gives us our ability to sharpen, perform in a deep way. That's how the things work. See, God, see, we can pray God for solace to give us confidence, but God cannot write exam for us. If you are, for a simple term, if you are going to have a bad, if you are not going to study, if you are going to perform bad in the exam, irrespective of whatever you pray to God. But if you are studying well, pray to God, you may get some questions you know better. Similarly in relationships, similarly in career, but people want shortcut. In order to get the shortcut, they think God is some kind of mercenary who will do things for them. Unfortunately, it is not the case.
You brought a very interesting point, Rahul. Now, I want to understand this. How can a common person, a layman, identify a real astrologer from a fraud?
Two things please keep in mind. One, if they are asking for any exorbitant rates, make sure they are using and financially exploiting you. Second, there are some more clever or cunning astrologers who won't take money directly but will say that you give me 500 rupees, but please go to a temple and do a 10 lakh wala puja. Please remember that is again because he gets some kind of commission from there. See, these places you should go out of devotion. See, please remember, God is not some kind of a mercenary who will do things for you. You go to Shabarimala, you enhance, you get that spiritual vibe. You go to Vaishnav Devi, you have that beautiful atmospherics where you go deep into yourself. You go to Kashi, you go to Tirupati. These are great spaces. They have their own energy. But at the same point of time, this is happening in Kerala in a different way. In Kerala, kilograms of gold were snatched in the name of faith, and we are fighting it. So exploitation is the core yardstick that you need to remember.
And because we are already living in a social media generation, so do you think social media has made these fake astrologers even more powerful?
Yes, and there are many people who will always say, "I have rightfully predicted tsunami. They have rightfully predicted Wall Street, say Wall Street crash." There is no mechanism to do all these. There is no mechanism. See, astrology, see, this astrology was some kind of related to astronomy at the earlier age. Human beings were fascinated by the heavenly bodies. That's how the entire thing came. We started to believe that they have some kind of effect on human body and mind. To an extent, it may be true. To an extent, it may be true. But these people overplay this angle and say that there are magical solutions. There are no magical solutions. You have to work hard. Yes, good times are definitely there, bad times are definitely there. But if you give me 1 lakh rupees, I do a particular puja and you will get a good time, is absolutely going to be wrong.
Now, Rahul, since you spoke so much and you were already in the protest for Sabrimala, so I want you to give a message to these people and who blindly follow Babas and Pandits. Like, what would it be?
See, I'll tell from a short experience from my own example. In Shabarimala, such a astrologer who had business intentions did something called a Deva Prashna. In all the major temples, there is something called a Deva Prashna, astrological Prashna or astrological program. You can do it. It was basically some kind of a fake scam for 100 crore rupees. We went to media, we went to high court, we finally exposed it, and that person, got charge sheeted. Please remember, see, this is an ancient way of looking at the world. This is an ancient way of understanding the world. We should definitely respect astrology as a proto-science, as an art, but at the same point of time, they are not the secret keys to unlock everything in your mind. These are a part of cultural systems, belief system, which we can respect. But at the end of the day, your common sense, your intelligence, your understanding is more important. You can use astrology to aid your life, but you cannot use your life to aid astrology. It should be the other way around. It can be an enhancer, it can be a confidence booster, it can reassure you in a positive way. All these things are good. At the end of the day, the golden rule, according to both Constitution, Vivekananda, and all our principle is your health, your wealth, your mind, body, and spirit should not be damaged and negatively affected by any belief. And if any belief is negatively damaging your body, mind, and spirit, they are superstitions, they are not genuine beliefs.
Thank you so much, Rahul. It was really informative yet amazing too. Thank you so much for being with us.